Grenade by Alan Gratz, Part 2, pages 144 through 149. Ghosts. Hideki hiked the soldier's pack up on his shoulders and went back down the other side of the hill. Where was he going again? South. Yes, that's where he was going. Through the front lines to Ichinichibashi to find his sister. It was hard to think straight after the explosion. Hideki's head throbbed and his eyes were still blurry. His bare feet were clammy and sore. He needed to get someplace safe and dry where he could lie down first. Close his eyes. Find something to eat. American tracer fire streaked across the sky, red lines that crisscrossed the low gray storm clouds. Artillery shells from both sides shook the ground. Mud filled the cratered fields, and every tree was shattered and broken. It felt like the end of the world. Hideki staggered into what looked like an old Japanese camp. Sandbags were stacked up in a ring, and a torn canvas lean-to tent was tied to what was left of a tree. Hideki guessed the IJA had abandoned the place before they were overrun by American soldiers. Hideki scavenged through the camp looking for food. His eyes fell on cardboard ration boxes half buried in the mud, and he dropped to his knees to dig them up. The boxes had food in them, but it was all spoiled. The Japanese soldiers had deliberately destroyed them so they wouldn't fall into enemy hands. A whole crate full of food, ruined. Hideki sobbed once, then dragged himself wearily into the partial shelter of the lean-to. It was muddy and wet under the torn tarp, but at least it kept the rain from pounding his sore head. Hideki shrugged off the heavy American Army pack and planted it at his feet. It was time to see what was inside. Hideki set aside the shovel attached to the outside of the pack. He would keep that. The other items he examined one by one. Extra socks, keep, for if he ever found shoes again. Toothpaste and toothbrush, throw away. Matches and lighter, keep. Japanese money, that was a surprise, keep. What looked like an English to Japanese phrase book, throw away. Cigarettes, keep. Hideki didn't smoke, but plenty of Japanese soldiers did. He might be able to trade the cigarettes for food. Razor and shaving cream, not even the young soldier that had needed this, so why had he lugged them around with him? Hideki threw them away. Hideki was disappointed not to find any medicine or bandages he could use on his head and his arm and his scraped up elbows and knees. He thought again about the dead American soldier, and he shuddered. Hideki pushed the image of the soldier down, trying to forget it, but he knew he never would. Hideki dug deeper into the pack and came to thin cardboard boxes that looked like the ones Japanese army meals came in. Hideki tore open one of the packages. Inside were neat little paper-covered rectangular packets, hard crackers, and something brick-like covered in aluminum foil. There was also a tin can and a key to open it. Food. It had to be. Everything had English words on it to explain what it was, but Hideki couldn't read any of it. Hideki's stomach snarled at him. He wanted to rip open the packets and eat whatever it was, but he hesitated. For months, the Japanese army had told him and all the other Okinawans that the American devils couldn't be trusted, that they would lure them in with the promise of food only to trick them. What if the English words on one of these packets said poison, and he ate it? He would have fallen right into their trap. Almost crying, Hideki put the lid back on the cardboard box and stuffed it back down inside the pack. He wouldn't eat it. But he wouldn't throw it away either. If he was about to die from starvation, he would try the food. By that point, what would he have to lose? But while he could still stand, could still stagger on, he would wait. As Hideki repacked the bag, he found a waxen waterproof pocket he hadn't seen before. Inside was a stack of photographs. They were black and white, with a glossy, slick feel to them on the picture side and thick, coarse paper on the backs. The first picture was of an American boy and a man who must have been his father, dressed up in funny costumes. It wasn't just any American boy, Hideki realized. It was the boy, the one Hideki had killed. The American soldier before he was a soldier. When he was younger, even than Hideki, Hideki felt like he was looking at a ghost, and he got goosebumps. Hideki quickly shuffled the picture to the back of the stack. The next picture surprised him. It wasn't of the boy or his family, or of any American. It was a photograph of a Japanese soldier in uniform, sitting with a woman in a kimono under a cherry tree. His girlfriend or his wife, Hideki guessed. On the back, someone had written, Kanazawa, 1944, in Japanese. Hideki looked at the photo for a long time. The couple must have been on a hanami picnic, a flower viewing picnic. In Japan and Okinawa, people gathered each year with their families and friends to sit under the cherry trees when they bloomed. The picture was black and white, but Hideki could imagine the vibrant pink colors of the blossoms, the bright blue sky. What were they saying to each other? This young man and young woman. Were they planning their lives together? What happened right after the picture was taken? Did they lie back under the trees, holding hands as they stared up into the sky? Did they kiss? The rest of the pictures were of more Japanese people. Some were Japanese soldiers, others were women and young children or older couples who looked like mothers and fathers. Some had places or names written on the back in kanji. Sapporo, Nagasaki, Osaka, Tokyo, mother and father, Hisako and Miko, Futushi and Toyo. Why did an American soldier have these pictures in his pack? The last picture made Hideki freeze. His eyes widened. He knew the picture. It was the photograph from the wall of his sister's school. The one he'd seen an American soldier take from its frame while Hideki was in the same room pretending to be dead. This American soldier, the boy Hideki had killed, they had been in the same room together long before they had run into each other on the battlefield. One of the other soldiers had used the American's name when he called to him. What was it? Hideki's head was so foggy he couldn't remember. This soldier had been keeping all these pictures the same way Principal Kojima had carried the pictures of the Emperor. Did Americans know about Mabui? Was this soldier carrying the pictures with him so these people's spirits would be protected and preserved? Hideki hadn't thought the Americans would care about things like that, especially not the Mabui of their enemies. The Americans were supposed to be devils, evil. Hideki flipped back to the picture of the boy and his father and studied their faces. They didn't look evil. But what did evil really look like, after all? Evil was what you did, not how you appeared on the outside. Ray, Hideki said aloud. That's what the other soldier had called the boy. It came back to him through the fog. Ray was the name of the boy Hideki had killed. The air grew cold and Hideki's skin crawled. He had the singular sensation that he was being watched, but when he looked around, he was alone. With a shiver, Hideki suddenly remembered. Rei was another word in Japanese for ghost.